I'm your host, Dr. Shannon Irvine. I'm very excited to bring this topic to you today, talking all about your brain and intentions and why in the context of goal setting, intentions are everything. I want to talk to you about intentions and what the heck they have to do with goal achievement and your brain really working for you instead of against you when you are trying to achieve things in your life. So I would love to know, what kind of being do I need to be in order to have that kind of result? And if you haven't taken time to brainstorm that, I really want to encourage, no pun intended, of course, I really want to encourage you today to take a few minutes and pen or pencil to paper, write down the being that you need to step into in order for that goal to take place. In other words, think about this. Like if I wanted to go, let me pick a goal, like I want to be keynoting at least 10 stages this year. That is a high goal of mine for 2020. So I'll share that with you. So the state of being I need to show up in is vital in terms of service. I need to be a person that serves, that has a heart of generosity and of gratitude. I have to be a great storyteller. And I also have to be intentional about how I show up in the world and how I look through the lens of what I have to offer, this brain training neurocoaching model, and how this can truly create a breakthrough year and lasting transformation, and get really good at communicating. So everything I just said wasn't doing that. I didn't have like the 10 steps to anything, but what I have are a few becoming goals so that when I hit the stage, I am serving you at the deepest, most transformational level to where you are inspired and driven to take the next step. Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to be, so I analyzed all the different speakers, what I liked about them, what I didn't like about them, what I gravitated toward, what I didn't, what bugged me about some of them. And what I determined was, as much as I love to inspire you to action, I don't want to inspire you for the idea of inspiration, where you go, oh, that's a great idea, and then you do nothing to it. That to me drives me a little bit bonkers, like a little cray. Seriously. Okay, dating myself with that one, but a little bit crazy, because the reality is, if you were sitting in my audience, I want to inspire you to action, to knowing you can transform. First of all, that's a very important thing for me, showing you that you have everything within you to do that. And then allowing that storytelling to take you to a place where not only do you know you can, do you know you must, and then you do. To me, that is how I want to keynote when I step on the stage. So that is who I'm looking at. And the people that do things like that, that show up like that, I am becoming a student of, not to imitate, but to emulate, like to take the being that they show up as and dissect it. So I say, oh, I see they show up in integrity. I see they show up very animated and they show up passionately. So they draw people, those kind of things. So think about that. I wanted to put it in context of something that I'm working on so that you can maybe pause, look into your big goal for this year and look at somebody that either has it or that potentially, if you're that maverick, step into that person's place and say to yourself, who do I need to be? So we talked a lot about it, but I wanted to touch on that today because it's super tied to what I want to share in terms of your brain science of success today, and that is intentions. But not in the way that I think you might automatically think about intentions, okay? So what most people do when they hear intentions is they hear this. Well, I intended to work out today, but I skipped it. I intended to eat well, but I didn't. I intended to go make those 10 phone calls to close clients, but I didn't. I intended to go live, but I didn't, or I did. But that's what most people think of as intentions. But your brain does not use that as any level of motivation, or in fact, almost in the opposite sense, sees it a little bit as a threat. Your intention to do something, and then when you fail at it, it sees it as a threat. So the hack, the neural hack, the piece that flips it and that your brain absolutely loves and will feed more of it to you is tied to the become the person that does the things to have what I want versus I have to do to be, right? We want to become that person because it makes it so much easier. Well, then you take that to the next level and you really show your brain exactly every single day who you want to become with that statement. So once you set that intention, or excuse me, you set that being goal, we need to go and look at the calendar and look at that being and then set a brain-based intention. Now, I'm going to tell you in a little bit about how I set a brain-based intention, and also just a way that shortcutted my goals last year by 50%. I literally hit the goal that I set out for last year in June. And it has everything to do with what we're talking about today. And I will get back to that in a second, but I want to connect this idea of brain-based intention setting to your being. And when we do that, we start to really get some momentum. We start to get, it's like putting fuel on a fire, gasoline on a fire. It's not just a good being idea, but you actually create intention. So what do I mean by that? So if my intention, like I talked about in terms of keynoting, is to show up and inspire action to transformation, then one of the intentions I need to have on a daily basis is showing up that way now in my daily life, in all of the things that I do. So what does that mean for you today? So when you set your day, and I don't know if you set your day the night before or if you set it during the morning, wherever you do that, I want to really encourage you to take a couple more minutes in every piece of that schedule, every piece of what you're doing for the day. I want to ask you want to ask yourself, how can I show up with my being the way it needs to become in each and every one of these things? So it's setting that intention on becoming all the way down to your daily schedule. So I can tell you today, I get to hang out with you for a little bit. Then I have a one-on-one client. I don't take very many of those, but I do still have some of my favorites. So I've got those. And then I have a kickoff call for my next season of my neurocoaching certification class that I am going to be welcoming them to the program, getting them excited, getting them committed, and all of that. And then after that, I have one phone call to make, and then a lot of creative things that I need to do in the afternoon. That's my schedule. So when I sat down last night to do that and make sure everything that from my calendar got into today, I looked at it after I wrote everything down through the lens of, okay, now remember, I want to create inspired action toward transformation. People wanting to take a next step, wanting to take the next step with us, within Epic Success. So I looked at each one of those things and I said, how do I show up in that way to really deeply serve, to be generous, to really pour out generosity so that people will get inspired to want to go deeper. And so I wrote down exactly how I'd want to do that today. And that's how this topic of the power of intention comes up. And I did that for every single thing. Now, at the end of the day, I give myself like a score. How close to my intention of being did I come today? Was I aware of it? Was I connected to it? Because what you focus on grows. Thank you, Tony Robbins, for that beautiful statement. It's true. We have proven that out through neuropsychology and neuroscience, that what you focus on becomes bigger. You see more of it. There's a structure of our brain called the reticular activating systems that make sure that that is the case. And your whole subconscious is programmed by what you think over and over and over again, therefore focus on, obviously, right? So how do we expect to get to where we want to go without focusing on the thing that actually drives it, which is our being, which is who we are and who we're becoming? What is the being that you need to be in order to achieve what you want this year? Is it more courageous? Is it confident? Is it, like I'm talking about, just showing up more generously? What is a state of being that, if you stepped into that state of being, your goal would be so much easier because the person that has it already owns that state of being. So we can connect a set of intentions to that being, because the reality is, once you do this is like, we always joke around about those commercials with Boost, right? So like, you can't have a vitamin, you have to have a vitamin with Boost, but this is seriously Boost for your brain power to achieve and accomplish goals. And what is that adjective that encompasses or embodies who you will be when that goal is 100% achieved? That's another way of saying that. So I see that it's more confident. I see that it's courageous. I see it's showing up when I don't feel like it. I see a lot of things like that. So what are some of your intentions around who you're going to become? Or maybe you even put it this way: I want to become more fill in the blank. So what is that fill in the blank? And, I said in the middle, I was going to come back to my story about last year. So last year, this is a process, part of our neurocoaching model. So this is a process that I do every year with my students, and I do every year myself. I practice what we preach. So now you can take whatever that adjective is into your calendar, into your things that you've outlined for the day. And you can say, okay, how can I be more consistent with my vision for this appointment? How can I be more consistent for my vision with this? And align what you're doing during your day with who you want to become, because getting there will be so much faster, so much easier. Your brain will start to identify that is who you are before you even fully become it, and give you some momentum. I take brain momentum every day over willpower. Willpower is trying harder. Doing this type of brain training or brain hacking is actually getting your brain to work for you to make it easier. I don't know about you. I take easier over harder. It's just me. I like thinking about it ahead of time to get the results faster. So that's exactly what I did last year, and every year prior, is set down, and on a daily basis, what will happen for you is all of a sudden you'll be sitting there and you'll have an item on what you're doing during the day that just does not align. Like, it does not align. Now, obviously, like taking out the trash probably won't align with like a positive attitude, but it should, right? If you have a positive attitude when you're taking out the trash, you have a positive attitude when you're doing business, or you'll have a positive attitude with your husband or your friends or your kids or all of the above. So the practice becomes in the daily work. And that is so exciting, because it doesn't make your day just things that you're doing. It makes your day becoming who you want to be in the things that you're doing. So in everything that you do, you can become more consistent. You can become more confident. You can become more positive. You can have more confidence, because action creates confidence. And so as you're doing these things and setting them out, and that's exactly what I did last year and the years before, where, we do the whole, in December, we do break down all these goals, set them all out, map them all out, put them all on the calendar, all the things that we do, right? And then the work that actually makes the difference happens, where I went through each goal and said, okay, who do I need to be? Who do I need to be? How do I need to show up? How do I serve? What state of being creates this? And that, to me, are more important goals than your actual goals, because the person that becomes that will achieve those things naturally. That's just a natural thing. It's a natural state of what happens, right? It's like, of course I achieve it. That's who I am, right? Think about it in terms of health, right? If you're somebody who works out all the time and eats clean 90% of the time, and you don't have any alcohol, right? When you're in a state, that is who you are. You say, I don't drink, I work out. It's an identity, right? So when somebody, walks over and says, hey, here's a bottle of wine, you go, oh yeah, I don't drink. That's who I am, right? So what you're doing with your brain is you're training your brain ahead of time to say, that's who I am. I am confident, I am consistent, and I have a positive attitude, which therefore is going to just naturally net the results. And your brain, as you bring that intention daily to what you're doing, is going to see it more and more as something that it protects and something that it feels safe to your brain, and it's going to want to create more of that. So we set a big goal last year. We wanted to hit multiple seven figures in our business because of the impact that I wanted to have. And we also wanted to roll out this neurocoaching certification program because it was so important to me that this model that gets source-based transformation, brain-based transformation, to where you can truly see, even if we scanned your brain, that an old pathway that was holding you back is gone, and a new success pathway, a new pathway to what you want, your desire, your goal, your dream, your vision, your habits, all of the above can be built. And it's step by step. That system of transformation is our neurocoaching model, and that's what we teach and certify in the neurocoaching certification program. And we launched that last year, which because I stayed focused on becoming that person that pays it forward, that gives in gratitude, that pours out the model that has made massive 6, 7, and 8 figure businesses grow, to coaches, so that those coaches could then go and have that effect in people's healths and lives and marriages and businesses and all of that. I've now been able to see that goal realized mid-year last year because of the impact. Now, here's the exciting thing. When I think about the impact, like, it wakes me up in the morning. It gets me fueled up, because when we end up having over 1,000 coaches certified, and say those 1,000 coaches end up coaching 1,000 people, think about the effect, the bondage that's gone, like the lies that have been believed for a whole lifetime that get changed in 67 days, and people go on to greatness, things that they were always intended to be. I'm preaching about the neurocoaching model because I believe in it so wholeheartedly. I get really enraged when I see symptom-based transformational coaching, where somebody goes in and puts a Band-Aid on a symptom and calls that coaching. That's not coaching. That's just trying to ensure your job for the future. So let's get to the source. Let's change the neural networks. Let's actually create a transformation so you can go on to your greatness. And trust me, coaches, you do not lose your clients, because when you get that level of transformation, you don't lose your clients. They want to stay with you for life because you've helped them transform and have breakthrough years and make such a difference. All right, I'll get down off of the soapbox, but you get my point. I had to really be focused on becoming a business that had this certification that was serving 1,000 people and really having that ripple effect. And I stepped into that before we had one neurocoach certification client. And now we're on to our second, and we're starting to open our third class of our neurocoach certification. And if that is you and you're a coach and this is something for you, so I really want to encourage you to reach out, DM me on Instagram or Facebook, and we'll get you started on the application process for that. It's an elite group. We don't let everybody in. You have to be somebody who is really interested in creating transformation for your clients and really making an impact. But if that is you and you're a coach, or you're thinking about getting into coaching and you want to do it the right way, it's absolutely the very best certification, because it's brain-based, science-backed, and it will get you that source-based transformation, which creates raving fans. But I digress. So that was a big part of last year, really launching it in a way that it serves so deeply. And of course, we make mistakes. And of course, we didn't do it all right. And of course, there are failures. And of course, it wasn't perfect, because the reality is, perfection, or trying to make it perfect first, is not the being that creates that kind of transformation. Now, have I had to pivot and adjust and create and fix and do all those things? Sure. But the kind of people that grow with you will always be the kind of people who are doing that kind of high achieving, where they're putting it out first and taking those steps. So I just really want to encourage you, If you want to hit your goals like I did last year, mid-year, and then spent the next 6 months dreaming for the next big thing, then I really want to encourage you, lean into this process. Trust your God-given brain that its processes and the way we're meant to approach things to allow our brain to work for us instead of against us is a simple step-by-step system that 97% of the world ignores. And that's not you. I really want that to not be you. Simple things that you can bring into your calendar, like, who is it that, like, when I have a 5-figure months, who is that person? Well, that person consistently shows up. Then you look at your schedule that you created for your day and say, how is what I'm doing at 9 o'clock where's consistency in that? And all the way down the line. And what it's going to do is it's going to amplify for you the things you're doing out of habit that are not serving your highest and best and biggest vision. I want you to really consider this today. And I would love if you shared this. I would love for you to tell me what that intention is, that one adjective that if you became that, all the goals become possible. And really own it. You want to go like to a step beyond? Tag me on Instagram with you holding up the name of that intention. I want to see that, because that the more you step into that and publicly step into that, the more it becomes real and the more you get momentum. Brain-based momentum, not willpower, push the boulder up the hill, but God-given brain-based momentum toward the big vision and big goal you're called to do. So that is what I have for you today. And if you're a coach or want to become one, and what I talked about with the neurocoaching certification is exciting to you, make sure you DM me. The next cohort is starting very soon, and we have a couple spots available, not very many, but we also have one coming up in the spring as well. So DM me and let's get you started in that, because it will be the credential that will be the cutting edge industry leading seal that you're going to have as a coach, and in terms of certification and really being able to provide people that peace of mind that you know what you're doing. So that is what I have for you today. I hope you have an amazingly blessed day, that you stay intentional with all that you do. Bye.